responded to 8225 Dix Ellis Trail, the La Quinta Inn, in reference to tip information that they received that a carjacking suspect was in the area. The officers located the vehicle and set up on the vehicle. Just before 10 a.m., a female suspect and male suspect exited an unknown hotel room and approached the vehicles. As they were approaching the vehicle, the officers confronted the suspect, the black male suspect. That black male suspect gave flight from the officers and ran north towards Bay Meadows Road in a small patch or parking lot area that is bordered by a wooded area and the southbound entrance ramp to I-95 from Bay Meadows, as well as the hotel rooms. So while the officers are pursuing the suspect, one of the officers, Officer Jason Letterman, a 19-year veteran with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, observed that he was carrying a black handgun and notified the other officers at the scene. A K-9 was deployed to help and assist in the apprehension of the suspect. The K-9 was closing in on the suspect when he jumped the fence to elude apprehension, while on the other side of the fence, the suspect was crouched down, and Officer Letterman observed the suspect reaching towards his waistband, and so Officer Letterman fired 3 rounds and struck the suspect 1 time in the ankle. Shortly thereafter, the suspect crawled out towards the I-95 southbound ramp and surrendered to officers, and he was taken into custody. We're not releasing the suspect's name today. He is a convicted felon and has served 3 years for a previous gun crime, but he's also the suspect in other violent crime cases that we're continuing to investigate. So I'll take any questions.
What was the gun crime? The gun crime he was previously convicted in? Was it robbery? What was
I don't know the specifics of it, just those general details.
Can you tell us a little bit more about just describe in detail how you saw him reaching for his waist?
Well, at this time we just have the preliminary information from the officer where he was reaching into his waistband while he was crouched down. It's noteworthy that at some point in time the officer saw the suspect throw a black object, but he couldn't see clearly what he threw at that time. So we're still working through some of the details as far as that goes. So we have not fully interviewed the officer.
So how far away was he from the suspect? He was across the fence, right?
He was on the other side of the fence. I don't know the exact distance. So I don't know.
Was it a chain link fence?
It was a chain link fence, yes, sir.
Do you know if the victim is still in the hospital?
To my knowledge, the victim is still in the hospital.
Do you know what his injuries are?
All I know is he has a bullet strike to the ankle.
Was a gun located at the scene?
Yes, there was a firearm located at the scene, and we're still processing that and recovering that firearm.
Body cameras are a big topic right now. How much would that have helped or assisted in a situation like this?
The sheriff has gone into great detail in regards to his position on the body cameras, so I think that speaks for itself.
So to make sure, just that I'm understanding the timeline clear, he saw the gun in the waistband during the pursuit, saw a black object thrown but wasn't sure if he still had a gun, and then saw him crouch.
When the officer notified the other officers at the scene in regards to the handgun, it was in his hand. He saw the suspect running with a handgun in his hand.
What happened to the other 2 people?
We're still interviewing witnesses and other potential suspects at the scene, so it's still very fluid, and we're still working through a lot of the details.
Is that?
You know their relationship?
I don't know their relationship.
And just to confirm, they were just here at the hotel? Maybe, possibly. Or they were coming
to the best of our knowledge, they were
room.
staying at the hotel. Yes.
Did you say he's a convicted felon? Is it here in Jacksonville?
I don't know the details on that. I just know that he was sentenced to 3 years for a gun crime.
And can you tell me why there was a helicopter after everything happened?
One of the things that we do for processing the scene is we take aerials for how it was at the time of the incident, and that helps us with our investigation and for the subsequent investigations that occurred here.
This is the 5th police involved shooting in the past 5 years. Did it increase work? I mean, does it play to the minds of police officers on the streets?
Well, it speaks to the nature of how dangerous the job is that the officers do, and how in just really a second things can change drastically. I mean, that they know they are working and dealing with and attempting to apprehend a violent felon. They know his criminal history. They know the additional charges that we're working towards securing, as well as the charge of the carjacking. So it speaks heavily towards the dangers that the officers face on a daily basis and how a situation can change from 1 second to the next.
Was the carjacking an armed incident as well?
Yes, the carjacking was an armed incident, and it involved where a suspect stuck a handgun to the driver's head, and that's how the vehicle was taken.
Do you know how long you'll be investigating this area?
I don't have an exact time, but you know, it's a rather large scene. We had a foot pursuit. We had the car is at one spot, the foot pursuit, and then the discharge of the weapon. So, I mean, it's a fairly lengthy scene. So we're processing it as quickly as we can, but we want to make sure that we collect all the evidence to assist with the case.
The female that was with the officer, did she resist or flee at all?
I don't have any details on that, but certainly we're going to talk to her and find out what her portion of this is.
And how many officers initially responded, and ultimately how many pursued?
There was only one officer that discharged his weapon. There were several officers at the scene that are witness officers, and we're interviewing them as well.
Is Officer Letterman, is he on leave now, I'm assuming?
Well, based on our protocol, we'll do that assessment and determine if there's a need for administrative leave. But yes, that's
Derek,
part
do you
of
have
our
a question?
Yeah. Can you tell me about how do you spell Officer Letterman's name, and is this his first police-involved shooting?
His last name is spelled Lederman. He has one prior officer-involved incident or officer-involved shooting, and I don't know the details on that.
Is there going to be an update tomorrow?
We'll do an update tomorrow at 10:30.
All right.
There was a white vehicle that was been stopped on 95. Is that what's the relationship to that vehicle?
I can't speak to that. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about it. Okay.
Can you tell me about the distance of the foot chase, about kind of how that all went down? It was from one spot. It was about how long was the chase going?
I don't know the exact measurement. My understanding is that the vehicle is near the south end of the complex, and the shooting occurred on the north end of the complex. So,
Can you say of any definitive charges against the suspect at this point?
no, I don't want to speak to those charges right now. Like I said, this is still a very fluid investigation. Even the carjacking charge from the initial incident, we're still looking at that to make sure that we have the right suspect.
Did you have to evacuate anyone in La Quinta or anything?
Well, the incident unfolded rapidly, so there was no evacuation for that. At this point in time, we're just preserving the scene and preserving the evidence. So we're trying to displace as few as possible.
And you had mentioned this person was a suspect in other violent crime incidents. Is there anything in addition to the carjacking, or is it just the carjacking?
In addition to.
And can you say how many cases?
No, ma'am. I don't know that exact number, and I certainly don't want to speak to that yet until we move forward with those cases.
This was a recent car.
Yes, sir. The car was actually stolen 3 days ago.
And in what part of town?
It was on Northwest Jacksonville.
He used a gun.
And there was a gun involved in the initial carjacking, a black handgun.
It was a female he took the car from.
I can't recall the details.
All
I
right.
believe it was a male, but I can't recall specifically.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.